Our headliner this evening is Mr. Ray Hilbert. Ray is the co-founder of Truth at Work, one of America's leading marketplace ministries. Truth at Work recently celebrated 20 years. It's amazing. He's passionate about helping high-capacity Christian business leaders address the area of balancing the demands of their personal, professional, and spiritual lives while building successful companies and organizations. Ray is the host of Bottom Line Faith, a weekly podcast highlighting businesses and marketplace leaders. They share their stories and lessons learned from integrating faith into their business. Along with his close friend Todd Hopkins, Ray co-authored a novel titled The Janitor, How an Expected Friendship Transformed a CEO and His Company. It tells the story of a young CEO mentored by a godly janitor who teaches the struggling young business executive the true definition of success in business. The Janitor is an international bestseller, was selling over 1.6 million copies worldwide. That's awesome. Ray and his wife Beth have 3 children and live in Fishers. Let's give Ray a big round of applause. Ray, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? All right, so you see my slide up there. It says married 31 years, 29 of those happily. There's some tough days in there, yes? So I got a little bit of preacher in me, so it's okay to say amen, okay? And I got 3 mostly great kids. All right. Now, on that note, I have to tell them all the time that Dad only looks this stupid. Okay? I'll say something. I say, now, look, I only look this stupid. So they don't believe that people actually want to hear something I have to say. So I'm going to take a picture to prove that to them. So on the count of 3, would you all just say whatever you want to say? 1, 2, 3. I want to tell them and show them that, you know what, somebody listened to the old man tonight. So I'm going to be brief for as long as possible, and I have 9 minutes and 10 seconds to be brief, okay? So what I want to talk about is this concept of tough choices in business. Tough choices in business, okay? And I want you to think for just a moment who you do business with and why. Think about who are your favorite vendors, who are the favorite people that you buy from, and why do you continue to do so? Your vendors, your suppliers, your customers. I want you to just imagine for a moment who you would continue to do business with, even if they were more expensive, and even if you could get that same product or service somewhere else. Is anybody coming to mind? Do you have someone that you do business with that you know that product or service is available from somewhere else and you probably could get it a little less expensive? Raise your hand if somebody's coming to mind. Most hands are going to go up. That's true. So why do we continue to buy from those people? I would submit to you 2 big reasons: trust and consistency. There is a level of trust that has been established between the 2 of you, and trust is built over time with a consistent experience. Would you agree with that? That's where we find trust, is over time a consistent experience. It's true in our personal relationships, and it's absolutely true in our business relationships. And so what I want to talk about then in this whole aspect of choices is, do you, I want everybody to say, do I? Do I have clear, concise, written core values that guide and direct my decisions and behaviors? In other words, do I have on paper, in writing, those words and principles that guide my choices? That guide my choices. Do I have them? Because if I have them in writing, and most businesses have their core values in writing, and a lot of times, hopefully they're more than just on a marketing poster on the wall. But when a business has real core values, it is their North Star. It guides their decisions. It helps them make their tough choices. But I'm talking to you tonight at a personal level. Do you have those core values that guide your choices? I want to just, if you're interested at the end of the show tonight, I've got my personal core values in writing, and I'm just going to read what they are, not in definition, but relationships, authenticity, candor, grace, excellence, and abundance. Those are the core values that I try to live my life. Those are the core values I try to parent and have in my marriage. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But these are the things that guide my choices. Number 1 core value is relationship. And this is the one I want to read to you. It is always about people. Everything I do is about people. Remembering every person is created by God with dignity, purpose, and meaning. Keeping in mind that now listen to this, while every person is equal in the eyes of God, not every person is equally strategic to invest in what He's calling me to do. How does this get lived out? I therefore will be kind, generous, respectful, and loving to every person that I meet, and I will invest time, talent, and treasure with those who are in alignment with who and what God is calling me to be. So what this means is I'm going to be kind and generous every time with that person across the counter who's serving my meal, who I'm buying from or whatever, but I'm going to invest time, talent, and treasure with those people that I'm called to. There's a difference. Does that make sense? However, it's always about relationships. So I've taken a lot of time over a number of years and really fleshed out my personal core values that guide, hopefully, my behaviors. And that's what I hope you can take away, and if you're interested in seeing what those are. Because when we have, I love this, that if you have clear principles and convictions, you actually have very few decisions to make. When you have decided ahead of time what your absolutes are, what your core values are, the more clear, the more defined, the more concise that you have those written down and lived out, you actually have fewer choices to make. Let me give you an example. Married 31 years, I told you 29 of them have been mostly happy. On those days that are difficult, if I have a very clear core decision that I'm going to be faithful to my wife, I never have to worry about wrestling with a decision that's going to take me in another direction. Does that make sense, friends? If I have decided that when I stood in front of the church and all those witnesses and I said, one woman, one marriage for a lifetime, I can love her even when I don't like her. Right? When we have well-defined core values, we actually have fewer and fewer choices to make. When I decide that I'm going to run my business with ethics and integrity, I don't even have to think about, am I going to cheat on the books? Am I going to cheat my customers? Am I going to shortchange the quality of my product or service? Now, where I come from, somebody right now would say, that dog will hunt. My grandfather used to say, that dog will hunt. So right now, would you say, that dog will hunt? What I'm talking to you is truth. These core values make all the difference. So when you have clear principles and convictions, you have very few decisions to make. Now, as I wind down here, check this out. My mom used to always say that we judge others by their actions, but ourselves by our good intentions. Yes? We see the behaviors of others, but that's not what always our intentions are for ourselves. So we find ourselves saying things like, well, that's not what I meant. Right? We see others' actions, but we live by our own good intentions. So this is true in business and life. So let me walk you through this real quick. What we're talking about here is the word integrity. Okay? Webster defines integrity as the quality of a sound moral principle, honest and sincerity. Now watch this. Integrity comes from the root word integer. Everybody say integer. You remember that term from grade school math? Okay? An integer is a whole number. It's a consistent number without a fraction or a decimal. We get the English word integer, which we get integrity from the Latin word integritas. I'm going to close tonight with this quick story. Where do we get the word integritas? Integrity. So check this out. We've all seen movies and stories back in the Roman days of Roman Empire rule and the Roman army. And we can all picture the skirts, or whatever they call that, and the steel around their legs, and the shield, and their sword, and their helmet. Y'all got the picture, right? So every morning, when that Roman battalion was getting ready to go off to battle, or just going out across the land for protecting their empire, they would line up the soldiers in a straight line just like this, and they would take their right fist just like this, and as their commanding officer would walk up and down in front of the battalion, each soldier individually would take their right fist and they would pound it across their breastplate, just like this. And there was a certain sound at that breastplate if the shield and the steel was healthy, if it was whole and ready for battle, it would give off a certain sound. But if there were chinks in the armor or cracks in the armor, it would sound very different. But when they would pound their chest, and if it was ready for battle, the word they would say was integritas. My breastplate is full of integrity. I am ready for the battle. Isn't that an amazing principle? So when we're going to make tough choices, it's always, always going to be rooted in your integrity. Are you ready for battle? Will you be consistent? Will you fight it? And will you live out your core values? My name is Ray Hilbert. I'd love to talk with you more. Thank you.
Don't delay. Get your ticket for the next Sparks event today.